All right. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. My name is Yukio Okano, and I am the chair of the Health and Safety Ministry team. And today's program is sponsored by the Health and Safety Ministry team, and the topic is creating a safe church, planning and preparing for emergencies. Now, given the events of the past week with all the horrific fires, I think safety is probably on our minds, especially at this time. I think this is a timely presentation to talk about safety here at church. I wanted to give you a brief history of the Health and Safety Ministry team, which was started during the pandemic to address problems that arose when our building was closed. Some of the problems we had included trespassing, vandalism, more people camping out on the grounds.
I can't hear
And of
Zoom
course,
because it took the laptop
as
away.
we began to reopen, we had to figure out a safe way of doing that.
Can you check Berg Hall? Is
Some of the
audio?
actions taken by the Health and Safety
It's like
Ministry
Berg
team
Hall's still
included building of the fence along the eastern border of the church, which, by the way, has made a big difference in reducing trespassing and vandalism, maintaining emergency supplies, the hiring of a safety monitor, and creating a safety manual. And I want to give credit to the previous safety team, which worked actually for a couple of years before the pandemic, and then became inactive for doing a lot of the work in creating this, the safety manual. And the current Health and Safety Ministry team went ahead and finished that project. And I just want to show you, there is a health and safety manual. It's about 40 or 50 pages long. It is on the website, and there is a link to the manual in UUCV this week, the newsletter that comes out every Thursday. If you scroll down towards the bottom of the newsletter, you will see there's a little statement about health and safety and the link to the manual. And this is a hard copy, and my thought was to leave it in Berg Hall. There's a health and safety bulletin board on this side of Berg Hall, and I'll leave it on a table for any of you who may want to kind of take a look at it. But it is available online. I want to thank Reverend Dana and the board for supporting the work of the Health and Safety Ministry team. And I want to introduce any members of the team that are here. Michael at 7. Michael, want to raise your hand? Sherry Anderson, who's in the front. Brian Buck, right behind me. Gudrun. Gudrun's over here.
Can you give that to Brian Buck,
Mark
please?
Yale.
Thank you. I don't know if he's going to use it or not.
Here. Madeline O'Connell. Ray Vargas, who's over here. And I want to extend an invitation to any of you who might be interested in working on health and safety issues to become part of our team. And you can talk to me either after the session or whenever you see me.
Where?
We can always use more help.
Oh, thank you.
So today's presentation is the first of what we hope will be a series of presentations on church safety. And we want to know how interested all of you are in some of the topics that might be offered. So please stay until the end of the session, and we're going to hand out some cards so that if you're interested in various topics, you can let us know. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Brian because he's going to narrate our slideshow today. I also want to thank Ray Vargas for being a big part of today's presentation. We've been working on this for a couple of months, and so a fair amount of work has been put into this. So most of you probably know Brian, a longtime member of our church, involved in many activities, and a past board president. And Brian has a work history, professional work history of security, so he has a lot, I think, that he can share with us. Hey, Brian,
Are we good?
we're good.
Okay, you can hear me out there? Yes. Great. We're going to start with, you see the front door here, basically, our driveway. And you have a map that I hope you have in front of you that you can orient to the way that we are in the sanctuary. Because it'll help you, because what we're really going to be talking about, this is a training session. And when you talk about emergencies, emergencies come in all sizes, don't they? They come in paper cuts, they come in twisted ankles, they come in major earthquakes, and as we know, these horrific fires that we're all going through. And there are things about all of those activities, big and little, small, that you should pay attention to, and you know these things yourselves. Stay calm. Don't panic. Help others if you're able to. That's the simple part of this whole thing, because we're talking about what happens if there's an emergency here at the church. And so let's see what happens here. Our agenda, can you all see that? Yes. Okay, so there are things that we're going to just talk about, types of emergencies, the floor plan, the alarm system. How many people, raise your hand, how many people here have a key fob? A lot of you. Okay, fabulous. So you know something about how the alarm system is supposed to work, and we'll spend a little time talking about that. We're going to talk about where all the exits are, because there may be more exits than just the front door that you know about, or just the back door. We're going to talk about the fire extinguishers. You can imagine this is a really hot item, fire extinguishers, okay? I'm telling you, anybody know what color they are? Red, that's right. Okay, we're going to talk about our medical and first aid kits and wheelchairs. You know, we have a number of wheelchairs here in the facility, and we used one today. We had need for that. And assisting those who need help, 911 calls, what's referred to as all clear, key people, and additional information. I'm the type of speaker who tends to ramble, so don't expect me to follow that. Okay, just do your best to follow whatever it is I'm trying to convey to you all. But types of emergencies, we just talked about that. And you might remember when you were in grade school, duck and cover. And you also remember fire alarm, fire drills, thank you. Fire drills. Do they still do those in schools? Yes. Absolutely. Isn't it great that you have an authority figure who can tell all the little kids, stand in a line, we're going to march outside while the fire alarm bell is going on, and be somewhere in the parking lot. And then we're going to take roll again. We don't have that luxury here. What we have is a room that has a capacity for 300 people. And right now we've been averaging a little over 100 these last few months, which is really a wonderful thing. And we are spread out throughout the entire building. You know, when service is going on, the kids are somewhere else. They're out there, or they're in the garage, they're somewhere else. And we're all here. And if you look around this room, you're going to be able to say, I'm physically capable of helping somebody, and I'm somebody who's not. And I hope I'm saying that very politely to you all, because that's a fact. And when you look at us, we're all clustered together, which means that if you decide to be in a panic, should the fire alarm go off, or worst case scenario probably, we have that classic major earthquake that we're all waiting for, that we watch on the movie screen once in a while. What are you going to do? This is a building that's been here for over 40 years. We have been in it for 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, Jim. We came in here in 2005? Yep. And so here we are, 2025. We've been here 20 years, and this is the first safety presentation that we have had. Think about that. Better late than never. Better late than never, that's right. Better late than never. So moving forward, you all have the map, and you can identify where you are. You're going to see this map again, and you'll see another slightly different one. And so here we are. We're at the front door. And I know you all recognize the front door. There's two front doors, actually. We've got a split slide here, the main front door on the right. And if you look at the wall, now I have to use a pointer. I need a Vanna White.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. This right here, for those who are wheelchair accessible, that is a button that they can push and the doors will automatically open.
Brian,
Yes,
can you do me a favor and do this on the other screen?
I don't like the other screen.
I don't like the speaker in front of that.
Okay, but you get the point.
Thank you.
All right, you get the point. And you might, if you're looking at the other door, the single door, the administrator's door, you've seen it before, there's a fob reader. Has anybody ever gone in the front door there with their fob, so you know how that works? Okay, and there's also an intercom system capable there. So that's our main door in, right there. And this here, you have two doors, which are on Ralston Street. It's this door over here in the corner, and the one from Berg Hall. Okay, that goes straight out to Ralston Street. We're just taking a walk around the outside of the building right now. Okay, this door, the bike racks, that's this door that's right over here. Okay, and those bike racks, just to be polite about it, were put together and installed by Ray Vargas.
Ray and Terry.
Ray and Terry.
Terry Spark.
Okay. This door, it's pretty obvious. It's next to the garage. It's not commonly used as an exit, but I'm going to tell you how to get to that door. Anybody know where this door is? Do you all work buildings and grounds? All right, because that door is on the back of the building, and it's down this hallway right over here. And we're going to talk about that. It's down this long hallway. And everybody knows what this door is. This is the back door to the church. Okay, it goes into Berg Hall and all the RE classrooms. And so there's our map again. This one's a little different. It shows the outdoor sanctuary so that you can see how you would get to that. But again, we've walked around the building. You can see where things are at. So if you were to come into the front door at the administrator's office door, you would see a keypad. All those of you who've had fobs, you've seen that keypad before, right? Because you have to use it in order to alarm the building in order to get out. Not going to go into that. Does everybody with a fob know how to alarm this building? Does everybody with a fob know what the protocols are for leaving this building? Reverend Dana, did I see you raise your hand? You have a question? No. Oh. Okay, so you're the only, I had a verbal yes, we know how, as opposed to raised hands. Okay, my mistake.
How about a review?
You assume you know the procedure. Okay. Well, I know that David Henkel is here, and that every now and then he might get a phone call because he's our representative to Dial Security. And Dial's going to call him whenever the alarm goes off in this building. And one of the reasons the alarm goes off in this building is because somebody comes in while another person is here, and then when they leave, they turn the alarm system on without having checked the building to see if anybody else is here. So I just want to take this up. David.
It's also fun when the power goes out.
That's another thing. Okay, so that's just a point, is that when you come into this building and you're leaving, please check to see if anybody else is here. It'll save a lot of grief. Okay, and so there's a map there, and there's all kinds of wonderful information about what we just talked about who to call, who to get help from. This door here, this is the door to the garage from the office hallway. That is this door right down this hallway. Okay, how many people have been in the garage? Thank you. Okay, and that's another look of that same door going right through here. So here's the front door from the inside. So now we're definitely inside the front of the building. And what's important to point out is that you have red exit signs above our doors. You notice those? You see them? They help you get out. This door right here is where it's tough, because you can't see the red exit sign from where you are probably. You might be able to see something through the folds of the screen here, but you can't actually see that there's an exit sign there. And it's really important to understand that the aisleways that we have and the walkways that we have a requirement of 36 inches. So you don't want to go and stick chairs and objects in the way, because if you had to leave the building quickly, it's going to be awkward. And so this point about safety is that safety is everybody's responsibility here. If you see something that's not right, or you think it's wrong in some way, from a safety hazard point of view, please tell Yukio or myself or Sherry or Michael or Gudrun, anybody that can resolve a concern that you discover, because it's everybody's job. We're a community. And we're going to take another look. Again, see, we have the red light, and that's going all the way back to the front door. And we have this area here that if you could really see it, this is what it would look like with the exit door. And we have our alcove over here with the doors going into Berg Hall. And we have behind us the exit light going down the long hallway, the green room door, and the door, single door going into Berg Hall. And this is that long hallway again, just talking about it. It's a long hallway. If many people gone down that hallway? Yeah, again, you're all buildings and grounds people, okay? But if you're not familiar, you might sit there and say, what's the fastest way for me to get out of the building if I'm sitting where, say, Ruth and Frank are? Okay? It might be, go that way. Okay? And folks that are over here, go that way. And folks that are over here, some of you go that way. And some of you go that way. Okay? Because the point is, catastrophic emergencies are about life and death. And we've seen that. So you got to help who you can, and you have to start with yourself. And then if you can help others, that's what you have to do. So that's Berg Hall and the door at Berg Hall. See, this is exciting stuff, right? Doors and red lights. Okay. This is the door going out into the back parking lot. It's sort of a longish hallway. It's kind of deceptive because it has an alcovey area, and in that spot there's another keypad to arm and disarm this building. Now, usually when you use a fob, the way the fobs are set up is that on the outside, when you enter the building and you swipe your fob, the building is automatically disarmed. But that is not the case if you don't have a fob, but you happen to have a code to be able to put a code into the keypad. Nobody here except myself should have that. Suzanne. Okay, Yukio, you have to get to work and be Vanna. We're talking about Suzanne in the corner.
When you disarm.
Oh, you're too close to the speaker.
When you disarm. Okay. When you disarm this one over here, you disarm the whole building.
That's correct.
All the doors.
All the doors.
Okay, that was my.
Yep. Yep. No matter what happens, when you walk in and you swipe a fob at a reader, it disarms the entire building. Okay?
That doesn't mean it unlocks it, it just means it turns off the alarm.
It turns off the alarm.
Wait for a mic, please.
No, Brian's repeating me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure you repeat that. Sorry.
Boy, he's too articulate for me sometimes. The fobs, you know, they're really such a simple thing. You get one assigned to you from Jennifer, our administrator, and she explains to you how to use them. And the problem that happens is you don't use it every day. You don't even use it once a week. Maybe once a month you're using it, and hopefully it works the way it's supposed to. That's the problem that most often occurs with fobs, and that's why David is going to love every phone call he gets. Now, let's turn this back on. Okay, this is great. Now, this is that same little hallway, that little alcove that we were just in. Okay, right here, right behind the door there. You see it where the rack is? We have a fire extinguisher.
But before you go into that important detail, I am going to
I
follow my
can't quite hear
minister's.
you, Jim, you're mumbling.
I'm going to follow my minister's direction and use the microphone just to repeat the point that I was making, just for clarity in terms, if you swipe the fob, you are not unlocking all the doors, you are just turning off the alarms.
Going back to the doors. You're turning off the alarm and you are unlocking the door that is immediately in front of you. You're unlocking the door that's immediately in front of you. Okay? It's because the fob is a card access control device.
You are not unlocking it permanently. It locks
Oh,
back behind you.
That's correct. Yeah, once the door closes, it locks again. Okay, because the fobs are a security alarm device and they are an access control device. Now we have hands up. We'll start with Ruth in the corner.
Just to talk about fobs and stuff. I'm curious, when you use your fob to unlock the door, do you know at the time you unlock the door if the alarm was already set or if it was off?
You don't know.
Because sometimes I hear a beep, which I always took that it was armed, and then when I heard the beep, it was unlocked. But, you know, if somebody else is already in the building and I use the fob to come in, I'm not sure if I'm on.
If I may, if you're outside the building and you swipe your fob, the only thing you may hear at all is the lock itself disengaging. It'll be a click. You might hear that, not always. Now, what you're describing about a beep, I'd have to be there to hear what you're talking about.
Okay.
Jeff?
Yeah, at the front door, Jennifer's office, you do not hear anything besides the solenoid click. At the back door, once you've walked into the vestibule or whatever, a few seconds, there's a 3-tone boop, 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 boop thing that I routinely hear.
Routinely hear. I would have to see that because that might be indicative that there had been a prior false alarm. Celia. I got a lot of fire extinguishers to show you.
This is just a simple question about the fob. Somehow in my mind, I have that as I'm exiting, if I'm going to alarm the building, that the door has to be closed, and then I alarm the building, and then I go out. Is that true, or did I just make that up in my brain somehow?
No, you are accurate.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, the door has to be closed.
Right,
If the door is not closed, you'll get a fault
right, okay.
at the keypad. And it will, in fact, any door or any area that's not properly secured, the mag lock is not turned on. That's a common thing. People forget to turn the mag lock on, and they get confused and don't know what that's about, even though it's very clear on the keypad what it is. They don't actually realize, have forgotten, I got to go flip that switch from red to green.
Right,
Okay, or there's a door in this hallway over here. It has to be closed. And you have to go and solve those problems in order for the alarm system to be properly used and securing the building.
okay. And one more little thing. It's when I use my fob to get in the door over here, I have to push it in before I can pull it out. I have to push it in, and that's fine. It's just that if I didn't know that, I might be pulling on it and call
Okay.
David and say my fob won't get me in the building, and
What I want to say to you about that, I'm trusting that you're not pulling on the door while you're trying to get your fob
No,
read.
no.
Okay, so if you just swipe the fob and then you're pulling on the door, but you're telling me it won't open sometimes
Yeah,
for
you
you?
have to kind of push it forward a little bit and then pull it back. That's just
We-
my
we-
experience. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
we'd have to do a test of that, but it's not the first time that we've had some misalignment problems with doors and trying to make sure that we have a service company that comes and takes care of that kind of problem.
It's not
for
a
us.
problem, just someone might get frustrated.
Did I see a hand up? Okay. I'm going to say unless it's a question, the other comments we can not worry about. David Henkel has a comment.
Can you please tell me which fault number is the mag lock?
Yeah, it's not on the list, David. Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah, it's not on the list.
Number 62.
Okay, yeah, that's not on the list. Thank you. All right. Okay, so fire extinguishers. We know they're all red. This one is hit by the back door. But the other thing that's really interesting is you see the decal up at the top? So that if you're in a room, with the exception of this fire extinguisher over here, which we'll get to, you'll see that there'll be a decal, the one above by the minister's door, there's a decal that helps you see these things. So not only do you have red, you have a visual marker. And we have one other that doesn't have a visual marker, and that's over here by the round table. Okay, so we're just going to work our way back around. That's, you have two different fire extinguishers here. You have the one that's down where the tables are kept, and you can see that there's an indicator. You have the one that is at the door going out to Ralston, and there's an indicator. And I want to point out, when I took these pictures, I had to remove a variety of debris and advertisements that were covering up the fire extinguishers. Okay, so please do not post signage or lovely decorations or anything in the way of this very important equipment. Now, I can't help but stop for a second because there's so much red coming up. This building, having been built over 40 years ago, is outfitted with an incredibly wonderful fire suppression system, except that it's 9 feet up in the air. It will take a full blaze, creating a temperature of about 123 degrees, in order to melt what is a little mercury plug. So when this building was built, it was built as a processing center, data processing center for State Farm. And everywhere that you see these brass plates on the floor were cubicles of 4. And they had those enormous, what are now boat anchor monitors and computers and things that got really, really hot. And that's what that stuff was about. In this building as it stands, there isn't a lot of immediately combustible material. Now, you wouldn't have thought that last Sunday. We were all having fun, you know, letting our past get behind us, and that was a good thing, right? But the most dangerous things that we probably have in the building are when we light these candles, or we light them for any other particular event, even though we think that they're a candle and it's small. I'm not going to tell you don't light candles, I'm just saying. It's really hard to burn this place down with the way we use it. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Let's go. One more. So just working our way around. This is the fire extinguisher in the green room. It's right behind the door. Okay, you can see that, right? You're familiar with that room. Okay, again, the fire extinguisher right here on the wall. Fire extinguisher here at Reverend Dana's office. I'd love it if we could figure something else different about that, because the only thing I can offer to you is that during services, that gets covered up when we put that blind in front of it. That's okay if you know where to get a fire extinguisher, if one is needed. The one over at the round table, that's the back hallway. Todd.
Hey, Brian, I'm not sure if everybody knows how to use a fire extinguisher. Can
Great
we show,
question.
have a show of hands?
Would you like to do a demonstration?
Yes. Yes, I would.
We weren't planning on doing the demonstration on how to use a fire extinguisher. They're really pretty simple to operate.
Well, you just make sure to point it at the base of the fire. Not the base of the fire,
Not worried about it.
not
Thanks.
the flames.
Okay? Rita, did you have a question?
Don't you have to pull the pin? I think you have to pull a pin, don't you? Thank you.
That's correct. The fire extinguisher lifts out of these holders. It's got a little nozzle. There's a pin you have to pull, and then you can use it. And the fire extinguishers, like the water suppression system that we have here, are supposed to be inspected annually. and the fire department typically comes and does that, and then there's another company that we utilize called Mitchell Fire Protection that comes and checks to make sure that the fire system, the water, works the way it's supposed to. That is all handled by Jennifer. So these are things that happen behind the scenes that we take for granted and don't worry about, that our very excellent staff take care of for us. Rita?
I'm just wondering if the fire extinguishers expire or need to be checked once a year or something?
That's what I just said.
Okay, I didn't get that.
That's what I just said. They have to be inspected annually.
So for home use, where would we take it to get it inspected?
Well, you would take it over to the fire department.
Okay,
Just take it over to the fire department. They might even, depending on the situation, they might even recharge it for you. Ian?
Yeah, the sprinkler has been tested.
I'm sorry?
The sprinkler system has been tested.
Yeah, the sprinkler systems are tested annually.
Okay, and then these faults, where do you see those? The door faults?
Oh, it's not part of that.
I know, but I'm just going back to the
The information about the alarm faults happens when you're trying to alarm the building. On the keypad, there's a display. And the display will tell you what zone, what door, what item was not able to be secured. And your job then is to go find that door, find that mag lock, whatever it is, find out why it didn't work, and close it, because that's all you're going to have to do is close it.
What do you have, like 3 alarms? What happens? It shows all 3?
If you had 3 alarms, yeah, you'll end up with 3 different faults.
Okay.
Okay? It's very comprehensive. Okay?
All right, sure.
Trying to keep going here.
Okay, so if you're alarming this one out here, you're leaving the building and
You're leaving the building.
and there's a problem with one of the other doors, then it will tell you. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying. The keypad will display an error, one of those fault codes,
Okay,
and that will tell you, that code, the description of it will tell you that the back door is not closed.
okay,
And you have to go to the back door
and close.
and close it.
Okay,
And then you get to come back to the front door, you haven't gotten your exercise for the day. Okay, you come back to the front door and you do it again.
okay.
And maybe it comes up and says, well, it's not the back door anymore, it's the side door. Okay, I got to go check the side door.
And
Okay.
then we come to you guys for help.
Well, you call David. You call David. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, this is in the kitchen. Now, when I took this picture originally, it was covered with all kinds of wonderful stuff about ecology. And, you know, where to put this and where to put that. And that's great. But if you can't see what you need in an emergency, and a kitchen is one of those places, it would be nice to be able to get at what you need without having to work hard at it. Okay? But today, you all are experts. Okay? Keep on going. This is out in the garage. You know, you go through that door, and there are 2 fire extinguishers out there. And just to keep moving, that's the exit door that's in the garage that gets you out. So now we get to move on to medical aid kits, first aid kits. Anybody tell me where that first aid kit is, looking at this picture? You're on the team, you don't count. You're on the team, you don't count. Okay, okay, Linda.
That white square thing?
Yeah,
Is that white square? Where is it? It's right there. It's where the door
okay.
and the
Well,
wall.
it happens to be right over here down this same hallway. Okay, near the administrator's office. Watch where you go with that, Yukio, it's dangerous. How about that one? Do you know where that one is? Thank you. Okay. Okay, anybody know what this is? David? Automated electronic defibrillator. Automated electronic defibrillator. Sherry knows how to use that. Okay, Are there any other medical professionals here today besides Sherry?
Lori Lemson.
Frank? So see, Frank, that's why you don't get to move back down south. If you do, you got to commute every weekend, okay? All right. Anybody else here? All right. Well, I know I want to know medical professionals. Again, you need to be quiet because you're on the team. Okay.
Ask who's been trained to use it.
Oh, anybody here been trained to use it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people been trained. Reverend Dana, do you have a question?
No, I just want to say one thing. Oh God, I shouldn't come too close, probably.
Right.
So I'm getting my 3rd grade teacher on, I know, about this microphone, but I am also completely aware that there are at least 5 people on Zoom. And every time there's a conversation that is not on the microphone, they are being left out. And that's why I'm being fiercely defending for you guys on Zoom. But it's just, I know that the timing of it gets really awkward, and I just want to say, and even, so if you can repeat things that are said, if they're shouted out, and somebody with a microphone can repeat it, you're not as conscious of that as you've missed a couple, that's all.
That's okay.
And so I just want to say this one more time. This is why, because there are people who are not in the room who need to be as much a part of this as possible. So, anyway, and so now having said that, I'll put the 3rd grade teacher, I never hit kids with a ruler, but I get that I have that energy sometimes.
But we have a thing here that you could use, but okay. Let's keep moving. Again, do you know where that's located?
Yes.
It's in Berg Hall. It's in Berg Hall. Okay?
Brian? Brian?
I'm looking, yes.
This is Brian, and I don't normally do this, but because I'm with an audience, I want everybody that is here to know that I have an implanted defibrillator, and if I go pass out in the church, please do not use that one on the wall. I've got one inside, should do its job. Just call 911 if I pass out.
That's really good. I hope everybody heard that. Brian Fortune, our most excellent tech, has an implanted defibrillator. And that other device, that would cause irreparable harm to him. And so it might be nice to know when somebody has a problem.
Bracelet.
Is there usually a bracelet?
It's good to have a medical alert on your wrist.
I have one, Brian. I have a bracelet.
So that sounds like how a lot of folks go that might have that situation. Because you don't want to just act like, well, Sherry's not here, but this person needs help. Somebody's calling 911, but in the meantime, I'm going to go get that defibrillator off the wall and use it. Don't do that. It's always good to wait for 911.
So, Brian, a few moments ago, a number of hands went up as to people who knew how to use the AED.
Right.
So I wanted to write a list of who they were.
If you know how to use the AED, please see Yukio when we're done. Okay?
I'd say Janice Frank would probably be somebody.
Right. Please see Yukio when we get done here. Okay? Because this is, my conversation has lasted longer than I thought it was going to last. Okay? This is a hallway that's over by the kitchen. And you see several things. One, you see it with wheelchairs, and one without wheelchairs. And that's because I wanted to be able to show the picture without wheelchairs that I moved those. But that's where wheelchairs have been kept. It also has a fire extinguisher in the back corner, and that's what that is about. That is not an exit door, however. And then we have the floor plan and the map, and you all still know where you are in the building, and you've been to these places, and you should explore this building because it's yours too. And so we come back to the agenda topics. We've had some discussion about the types of emergencies, not in super depth. Okay, this is just an initial training and orientation conversation. We talked about the floor plan and the alarm systems and the exits and the fire extinguishers and the medical kits. You know where the wheelchairs are. We've talked a little bit about assisting those who need help. 911 calls. There are reasons to call 911, and I would not tell you not to do that. If you saw something that you saw as an immediate life-threatening issue, don't wait for somebody else to do it. Do something. Call 911 and let's get some professional help on the way to take care of whatever needs to be done. We can always point fingers after the fact. That's what people do. Okay? All clear. With love. Yeah, with love. All clear is, it becomes self-evident. When the building hasn't burned down, or when the earthquake didn't take the building, when we all found our way to safety, there are going to be people that we want to be talking to. And those key people typically involved the board president, not in this order, but the board president, the minister, the church administrator. The board president is Gina Norquist, our minister, Dana, church administrator, Jennifer, director of family ministry, Lily, buildings and grounds ministry team. You've met a bunch of us here today. Buildings and ground ministry, Sherry and her group is what I want to say about that, and the health and safety ministry team. These folks, all of them, are trying to help you have a good experience here in this building and to be safe. But again, it's a community, so we have to help each other. Bruna. Wait a minute, we're waiting for Bruna. I know you can, but...
Suppose this building was all in flame. How do we get out of the driveway? We want to save our cars.
Well, that might not be practical because there could be fire engines coming in at the same time. Now you also raised a really great question, Bruna. Okay, what happens in a catastrophic situation? Since we're just going to take a minute to talk about that. You've already seen it happen with the Thomas fire. You've seen it happen with the fire recently in the Camarillo area. You've seen it happen in Malibu, and now the second fire down there, Pacific Palisades, and throughout Los Angeles. And you could imagine that worst case scenario where a significant earthquake event happens and just wipes out all the infrastructure. The power lines go down, the phone lines go down, water lines are disrupted. Everything in the world is chaos. And I guarantee you, you are not going to be receiving an emergency response because there are too many of them. And you see that with Los Angeles right now today. There's too much and not enough people and no way. So you have to be thinking that if I can't get to my car, I'm going to find a way to get to the sidewalk and get away from the building or get away from anywhere that there's a threat to my personal life. And if there's somebody I can take with me, I'm going to take them with me. It's really that simple. No one in a catastrophic event is going to really be able to be there to come to your aid, except those who are immediately around you. And it might be that you're the most equipped person to help everybody else. And that's just how it is. It's life or death in those situations. But if you trip and fall and you hurt your ankle, that's not the same thing, but that's an emergency. And so an emergency is a sudden occurrence of not a catastrophic event, but of an event that is so sudden that it takes everybody by surprise. And all of a sudden, you're going from having been here for a peaceful, spiritual experience to, we've got to do something. Who's in charge? Well, don't look around, okay? Don't look for the minister necessarily. Don't look for Brian. Don't look for Michael or other people to suddenly go, folks, this is what you're going to do. You have to have a predisposition to understanding what your individual responsibility is for your own safety and the safety of others. Does that make sense to you all?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So is the street the safest place?
No, that's a different, yeah. The question to the audience is the street or where is the safest place?
Yes, where is the safest place? Is the street the place to go?
The sidewalk is the best place to go to.
Sidewalk, okay.
The sidewalk is the best place to go to and to get out of driveway. Get out of the driveway. Because again, your calmness, your lack of panic, isn't necessarily going to be someone else's calmness and lack of panic. Okay? People are going to be worried. Again, what about the kids? What about stuff? And going back, because I'm almost done with my part here, this building's been here for over 40 years. We've been in it for 20. We haven't had a significant event of any kind that we're talking about when you get to the real catastrophic stuff. We've had people trip, we've had people fall, there have been minor injuries, but nothing significant. But that doesn't mean that when you leave here with whatever you feel you got from my particular conversation, that you shouldn't take this information about your own personal safety and how does this translate to your home. There are a number of people in this congregation who lost their homes in the Thomas fire. Gretchen and I almost lost ours. We saw the Camarillo fire. People lost their homes. And I'm sure many of us have friends down in Pacific Palisades. They've lost their homes. They didn't lose their lives. That's the deal. Don't lose your life. So, Ray Vargas. I'd like to introduce Ray Vargas.
Again, thank everyone for being here today. It is on our minds. We have friends, as Brian mentioned. I work for the city of Glendale, and I was there in '94 when the Northridge earthquake hit the valley, and the parking lot called Pancake. And if it had happened 2 hours later, I could imagine the number of employees who would have lost their lives. We're spending this time now for two announcements. Is this working okay? Yes. Okay. Yes. Follow-up training. We have training available that we have want to present to you, an opportunity to sign up. One is with the American Red Cross, and the other is with the Ventura Police Department. So we're going to begin, and we have cards. If you're interested in signing up, we will see how much interest there is among our congregation for these follow-up sessions. And Yukio, if you could bring me the pink and blue in the box. We have some sign-up cards that we will ask you to, I'll just take one of each. They didn't have red, but they had pink. This is for the American Red Cross, and the blue is for Ventura PD. So at the end of these announcements, if you're interested, we'd like you to fill out these little cards and hand them back to us, and we have pencils here. So we'll begin first with Yukio. Thank you.
So I've been in touch with the local Red Cross, and they are willing to come out and do presentations to us. In particular, a session about earthquakes and another about wildfires. And given what's happened over this last week, I think these are both really highly relevant topics. The Red Cross also has courses on CPR and first aid. If there were enough people, they might be able to come here, but the recommendation is that if you're interested in learning CPR and first aid, that you sign up for one of their courses, which would be off-site. But they are willing to come here to talk about earthquakes and wildfires. Now, given what's going on with the fires, I'm not sure about the timeline about their availability, but we can certainly follow up. Frank.
I'm a member of the Red Cross, and they're really busy now. We're really busy. I spent the last 4 days down in Palisades. They're very busy now. But if you get a hold of Yukio, I actually know the liaison here, and they can come and give classes on CPR, and it's always good for people to know CPR, use the defibrillator, and things to do about wildfires. But right now, they're stretched real thin.
So we're talking about, as far as a presentation, probably over the next several months when they're available.
Just a quick question. Do we have stretchers somewhere in case someone loses consciousness and needs to be picked up and carried out?
That's a good question. I'm not aware that we have one. Yeah. I mean, we have wheelchairs, but.
Could you get the cards ready, please? The other opportunity that we have for a follow-up training is with the Ventura PD. Several years ago, I attended right down the street a presentation by Ventura PD, their community engagement department, on there was a rise in attacks and violence against synagogues, churches, mosques. So they held this presentation on how a congregation can prepare in the event of a person or people wanting to cause malice or harm against us personally. And it's some of you were there with me. I think there are 2 other members of the church. And it was a very good presentation by Ventura PD. And if there's interest here today, I will contact them again to organize a follow-up training with us here. And I brought some stats with me about record high hostility and violence against churches in America. In year 2023, that's the last year of this report, there were 430 incidents, more than double the number in 2022. An 800% increase in incidents and an average of 39 attacks every month against houses of worship and faith-based centers. American churches aren't just witnessing hostility and violence at a higher rate than ever before. The report suggests the attacks are increasingly more violent and more personal. Get the second page here. Close to 400 were acts of vandalism and arson, which often left church properties defaced and causing thousands of dollars of damage in many cases. Gun-related crimes, assault, interruption of church services, and bomb threats comprise a smaller share of the attacks. So roughly of the 475 were arson and 315 were vandalism. And the rest were gun-related or bomb threats or other type of attacks or assaults or violence against the church. As Unitarian Universalists, I think, in my mind, a number of years ago, I said, we were really very vulnerable. Our theology, our opening our doors for groups that are women's reproductive rights, LGBTQ, our theology and our advocacy for peace and our values that we value here in our faith. So we just don't know. And no 2 incidents are alike. But having this awareness that yes, someone could come through the door and try to disturb the service, or we may have persons that we don't know if they're armed or unarmed. It takes an awareness on our part to be able to be prepared and respond in a responsible way when these events occur. And that is the goal of this training with Ventura PD. So now, UUCV, we have cards. Once again, the pink cards are for the Red Cross and the blue are for Ventura. So I'm gonna ask if Sherry, if you might help UUCV pass out cards. Persons interested, you want to sign up if you're interested. Yes, please sign up if you're interested in having, and if you want to attend both trainings, sign both cards, please, because we're going to track that. And also, I encourage you to look in this health and safety policy that our team prepared and submitted to the board. There's a whole section here on what to do and how to recognize an attack. And some of us, and that's why you see some of us sometimes on the periphery during church services, in the event that someone has come into the sanctuary, it would cause harm, or has come irresponsibly with some behavior that of malice towards members of the church. So do look inside this manual. Yes, Terry, 1 second, could you wait while we present the microphone? Thank you.
If this is an appropriate time about security, Ray, thanks. Do we have a strategy? Like, do we communicate against violence? I've told Gadroon, I have attended the church in, a UU church in Oregon, and they had people actually come in and steal the pamphlets. They had to lock the doors. That's what it resorted to. Do we have, between our security outside and inside, do we have a strategy, a means of communication, any kind of threat? Have we thought about it? We know about Knoxville, right? Thanks.
I'm going to ask Yukio if you'd like to comment on Terry's question.
The health and safety ministry team is kind of in an ongoing process to identify strategies, kind of like we're identifying. One thing that we have done recently is we are closing the back door about 10 minutes after the service starts, so that any latecomers will have to come through the front entrance. And Russell 70, our safety monitor, is there,
Can you let them
see
know
who's coming
the
and
podium
going.
mic is available for them?
But yeah, I think there are a number of things that we need to think more about.
I am actually quite aware of more than Yukio said. I don't think there are policies and procedures absolutely written down and set in stone, but there is a presence and an awareness, as Ray was saying, that you've seen people around. There have been a very few things that have happened, nothing that was at an active danger, but a couple of things that really alerted people. And I have been very impressed at how aware and alert our folks are, from Russell to Brian to Yukio and more, and how gracious they are as well, because we are a church. And I don't know how many of you remember this. I missed it completely, actually. It was during a service. Which service was it? Was it right after the election? Yeah, I think it was the service after the election. And there was somebody who came in after the service had started and apparently said, I need to pray. And Russell said something, Russell 70, who is just, very, very matter-of-factly came up and asked him what was going on. I need to pray. And Russell tried to say something about the service that we, we were not as Christian as maybe this person was seeking. But the guy goes, I don't care. I need to pray. And he said, I promise, I'll stay back here. And he was going to stay in back. And then all of a sudden he came up and he knelt down right in front of the pulpit. Does anyone remember this? Yeah. Nope. So I didn't see it because it was during the offertory. And I was looking at Carolyn playing the piano. And I'm also a little bit blocked from this. The guy came down and he prayed. And then he got up and left. And all I could see was Russell shaking somebody's hand, and he left. And there were people who were like, what's going on, paying very close attention. But I was utterly delighted to find out that people were like, oh, that's interesting. And nobody said a thing. Our safety people were on alert. I want you to know that. And had anything untoward, anything escalated to something that was unsafe, They were ready. They were really ready. So again, yes, there actually are, they're thinking about things, and they're watching and paying attention. And so, and this is a guy who apparently needed to pray. And he did it, and he left, and all I remember is Russell shaking his hand as he leaves. And I was like, you know, this is so gracious, because there are people who come in who mean no nefarious intent, who are in various throes of whatever they're in, and we need to be as gracious as possible while also looking out for possible danger. And I have tremendous confidence in what we have, the alertness that people have had, and paying attention. And if we have to lock those doors, we have to lock those doors, because sometimes that happens. The other thing is that people do think churches are places where people feel safe, and thieves can walk in, and there are often people who are opportunists, and if there's an open door, they walk in, and if there's something lying there, a phone, a purse, some kind of other, valuable thing, they take it and walk right back on out. So we have to be aware of that. Don't leave your purse anywhere. Don't leave your phone anywhere. Those kinds of things that we need to be aware of. And so that's my spiel, not even part of this, but I just need to come up and do the testimonial about how well people are paying attention to our safety throughout the worship service. And I'm going to bring this over to you, Terry, and then you give it back.
Very simple question. Banks, so forth, have panic buttons. Is there some kind of system like that that can be applied to our situation? I mean, you want to report something discreetly? So is there such a system? Thank you.
We do not have a panic button system, but maybe we can think about that more. Having worked in mental health, I used to have a panic button under my desk, and the only time I ever used it, thankfully in 40 years, is by accident. I was walking down the hall from my office, and security people were running towards me, and they were asking me if everything's all right. I said, and I didn't know what happened.
In our procedures and policies and inside this guide, we give a special attention to the children in the RE, because they're over in the classrooms over there. Let's say an event occurs here, either an emergency, a disaster, a fire. We want to make sure the children are safe. So we're talking about in there about we're changing locks so it's lockable from the inside, but cannot be opened from the outside. So an RE teacher can safely keep the children inside the room without anyone forcing their way into the classroom. And so we're looking at ways, and again, we need help in a lot of things, and then there are budgetary items, but Michael Axelman has been working very diligently on improving the locks that we have internally inside the building with children in mind.
Excuse me, Ray?
Yes. I heard someone say
Ray?
something.
This is Brian.
Brian.
We have somebody in the chat. Deb and Chris are interested in all the trainings.
Oh, wonderful.
FYI.
Why don't we, well, I'll fill out a card.
Maybe we'll go back where Brian is and get contact information. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, okay.
I'm really nobody. The last 6 months, I live across the street. I go to work. I go to work right here early in the morning at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I come back right here, obviously right across the street. And I've checked the grounds. We do have a homeless problem, and some of that homeless is drugs, things like that. It's pretty much under control. everything, everybody does a lot for this, but we do have a homeless problem. And it's great if we check things out, we put notes and things like that to remove things. As far as fires go, this is a beautiful, beautiful property. And we've got beautiful pine trees. And Sherry does a great job in buildings and grounds. She keeps it all really nice, and I try to help, so does everybody. But the pine needles need to be picked up. All it would take is somebody to stick on the other side of the fence to throw a cigarette butt in there. And those pine needles, there's thousands and thousands of pine needles that needs to be addressed kind of immediately because they're already dry, and this building it's stucco and wood, and it'd go up like a match. So these pine needles need to be addressed. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I think we're pretty much aware about the pine needles, and there are regular efforts to clean them up. Any other questions or comments? If not, we will close, and thank you very much for, okay, hold on.
I'm curious, Ray, where you would like to keep the brochure, the notebook. Yeah.
Right. We have a hard copy of the safety manual. We'll keep it in Berg Hall under the Health and Safety Bulletin Board. Yeah.
I just wanted to comment that it's every topic is alphabetized, so it starts with alcohol. So yeah, once you get through alcohol, then you're ready to go on and continue reading.
Okay. There was a lot of work put into this manual, so I hope you'll, at some point, have a chance to look at it. All right. Thank you all very much for being here. And I want to especially thank Brian Buck for his wonderful job narrating the slides, and to Ray for helping put together the slideshow. And we will look at the responses on the cards, and hopefully we'll have some follow-up presentations from the police department and the Red Cross. So thank you for being here.